Let me try to summarize just a little bit before we move on, because there was a lot there, and you can correct me where and if I'm wrong. But so the wealthy's primary mode of extracting capital in feudal times was essentially slavery and then usury. And actually, it's worth noting you had a really nice phrase that I'd never heard before in your book, and that was predatory usurious finance. I'd never heard or read the word usurious before, and I liked it. But then after the Industrial Revolution, the capitalists played a productive role, which he hadn't before, by organizing labor. And then now restricting ourselves to the United States, there was a swing back to usury and the rentier economy after World War One. And this leads me to ask what it was that caused this change. Was it the loans you mentioned that had always financed wars, but in this case, it coincided with the rise of the military-industrial complex?
You had the landlord class saw that that industrial capitalism was succeeding in creating governments who looked at their task as sponsoring economic growth and raising living standards, meaning the productivity of labor, and then promoting industry at the expense of the rentier class. The landlords, the monopolists, the mining companies and oil extractors, and potential monopolies, and the rich people, the dominant rich, all saw this as the dynamic of capitalism as being at their expense. When the United States created the income tax in 1913, beginning right after 1914, only 1% of Americans had to pay the income tax because you had to have income over a certain level in order to be taxed. Most Americans didn't make enough to even file an income tax report. And that almost everybody who paid an income tax, the rich people, the rich families, the power elite, C. Wright Mills told them, either made their money from real estate or in banking and finance, or by having some kind of monopoly like John D. Rockefeller in oil or Andrew Carnegie in steel. Banks were looked at as the mother of trust. So banking in the United States and England always played a reactionary role. The bankers did not help industrial capitalism. Their loyalty was to their class, which was the rentier class. They supported the fight against the whole classical economics. They wanted to, and they financed bad universities like Columbia University was one of the centers of the rentier university. That's where they had John Bates Clark. And Columbia University, which was, I think at that time, the largest landowner in New York City, did everything it could to fight against land taxation. And they were fighting against Henry George, who was not a good economist, but a popular journalist who was advocating a land tax. And the wealthy families all got together and say, we don't want to be productive. It's really hard to be productive. If you're a capitalist, you have to organize the production of an industry. You have to advertise. You have to create markets. You have to use your brain. We don't have brains. We don't have to have brains. We inherited the money. So we want to run the economy without brains, just purely predatory. It's our mentality. That's what we do. That's where our ancestors gave us all the money, by being predatory. And there was a hatred of actual enterprise. People had to actually work for a living. It was, in a way, very much like ancient Rome. Looking, if you're an aristocrat, you didn't want to dirty your hands by actually making money and playing a productive role. You wanted just to live off the fat of the land, to be a parasite. And that's what the rich want to be. It's not that they don't want to be called parasites, but they want to be parasites. They want to call themselves the most productive class that they're in, but they're the most predatory class, and they play no role in production. And actually, by increasing their gravitization of land rent, they are responsible for deindustrializing the American economy and now the European economies as well. So that basically that I hope that answers the question.